We traveled in pairs to present these programs, and Betsy Tanner and I were assigned to go to rendezvous that day. We started taking fire as soon as we landed. They put us down in a cave, which was their command bunker. It was an entire North Vietnamese battalion who had us pinned down.
Ask a Vet is dedicated to documenting and preserving veteran stories in their own words on their own terms before their stories are gone forever. Each episode is an unfiltered conversation about who they were before service during war and their adjustment to coming home. If you believe these stories matter, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support helps us preserve the voices of those who served. And now back to the show.
I'm Diane Thornal. Excuse me, my maiden name was Zetterval. I was born in Portland, Oregon, lived there till I was 13, and then my family moved to Bellevue, Washington. And I went to high school, junior high and high school there, and graduated from Western Washington State College in Bellingham, Washington in 1969. And
Was your father, or do you have parents or that were military or no?
Yes, fought in World War II, and grandfather and uncles. And
what did he do in World War II?
My father, he was in airplane maintenance. And
was he in the Pacific or
no? Actually, no, he was in Europe. I think in France.
Oh, wow. Did he talk about it much or no?
No. The funniest thing that I remember is he always had a line that he would say in French, "Voulez-vous, parlez-vous avec moi? Will you walk with me?" Anyway, I guess he met some women then, or the men always had that line that they had. It's kind of funny.
Since I've been interviewing Vietnam vets, you're the first woman that I've talked to about the war and being over there, and I'm so curious. I'm so glad to have met you, and I'm so interested in your story. So let's start there. How did you end up in Vietnam?
Well, I was in college, and I had been in the Red Cross. I started a Red Cross club in high school, and in the Seattle area, there was a woman named Joyce Burkhart who was head of the youth in the
like
Seattle area.
A youth Red Cross or something?
Yes, youth, and she started a program where we all went, the presidents of all the clubs went to Bellingham every summer for a week for youth leadership training. She had quite an influence on our lives. And I was involved, in fact, during I think it was 1963 that the big earthquake in Alaska happened. And a lot of us were involved in helping to communicate between the people that were affected by the earthquake and their families back in the States. The youth, we participated in that. And
tell me, what did it involve, the Red Cross at that point, if you were the youth?
Excuse me, they recruited us in to help with telephone calls and communications between anyway.
And how old were you when you were doing that?
Well, I didn't do very much involved in that because I was out in Bellevue and it was farther into Seattle. But the Red Cross leadership training, I was involved in that as far as a participant for a week every summer. I think for 3 summers I went to Bellingham, and that's when I fell in love with Western Washington State College and decided to go there. And then when I was in college, I was a volunteer with the Red Cross there. And the Lummi Indians, there was a flood on the Lummi Indian Reservation, which was north of Bellingham. And when the disaster teams came in from all over, and they left when they finished up, I was left in charge of that part of coordinating anybody that was left out of the aid. And I was volunteer with the local Red Cross chapter, but also, excuse me, there was my advisor, my college advisor was a Red Cross volunteer, an adult. And during my sophomore year, I had sophomoritis and I wanted to quit college. I knew I wanted to graduate from college. I was the first person in my family to ever go to college. But I was tired of the rhetoric of the classes and stuff, and I wanted to go save the world. So I went to my advisor and I said, I want to quit for a time and then come back, and I want to go join the Peace Corps or VISTA, Volunteers in Service to America, or something. I want to do something. But I knew that when I graduated, I wanted to work for the Red Cross because they did so much good, and they never told the story. And I wanted to tell the story anyway. So I wanted to work.
Explain that to me. What do you mean, never tell the story?
Well, they didn't have a lot of public positive, public relations then, and so I wanted to help that out. But he knew that I wanted to do that, and he also was wise enough to tell me that his experience was that most people who quit in the middle of their college never went back, and he knew that I also wanted to finish. And I said, and so he had found out about the SRAO, Supplemental Recreation Activities Overseas program that was commissioned by the Department of Defense for Red Cross to provide this program to the troops in Korea and Vietnam, and it was a follow-up to the recreation programs, actually the clubmobile programs from World War II, when the women were recruited to make donuts and go out and serve donuts and coffee to the troops on the front lines. And they were called Donut Dollies. That was the nickname that was given to them. And anyway, he told me about this program, and I said, well, I'm on board. I'd like to go. He said, the problem is you have to have your degree first. You have to have your college degree, and you have to have a good bit of experience in community activities, which I was a part of because I had Red Cross experience. And so I said, okay, I'll change my major. and
what did you change your major from to?
I changed it from home economics because I couldn't handle the science. Believe it or not, there's a lot of science involved in home economics. And I'm not bright enough, chemistry and all those kinds of things. And I changed to public speaking, to speech. They now call it communications. And I figured anything that I did in life, you'd have to be able to speak well, which I'm not necessarily doing a wonderful job this morning. I've got a frog in my throat. But anyway, so I changed to public speaking, and I was on the debate team and the forensics team and all that, did well, and applied.
Had you heard of the Donut Dollies before?
No, I had not. In fact, we never heard of them called that until we were in Vietnam, and somehow the men got wind of that nickname, and so it became a nickname and a term of endearment for us as well, that they called us Donut Dollies. I never served a donut. I never ate a donut. Never saw a donut in Vietnam. But anyway, that was the nickname.
And how much more schooling did you have to do before you could go do this?
You had to have your college degree.
And you were a sophomore when you made that decision?
Yes. What
did your folks think? Did you tell your parents you were going to do this?
Yes. Yeah, they were not surprised when they learned about it, and they were very supportive. Yeah.
Okay, so you finished school.
Yes. In fact, I went to summer school for 2 summers so I could finish early and go in April of 1969. So I never walked with my class. I got my diploma through the mail after I was in Vietnam.
Okay, back up a little bit. So did you sign with the Red Cross then?
Yes, I did.
And what was required of you at that point?
Well, you had to have your college degree. You had to have some community involvement in whatever experience, and I had a lot by this time in with the Red Cross, and you had to be between the ages of 22 and 24 or 25. Of course, I was 22 when I went to Vietnam, and
you signed for a year? Is that?
Yes.
You committed for a year.
Yes.
And then, okay, where did they send you? And well, actually, before that, what was going on in the war at that time? Were you up to date on that, or was that just kind of separate from what you?
I was not political. There was a lot of anti-war stuff going on, and I wanted to show the troops that somebody cared about them, and I didn't have a political agenda at all.
They sent you to train you, or
we went to Washington D.C. for 2 weeks, and at Red Cross headquarters, and it was mostly to become familiar with recognizing military rank, and a little bit of what we would be doing, which would be playing games with the men, kind of like the television game shows, audience participation type game shows, and we would make our own props and make up our own programs, and we just had experience. We got training in presenting programs that were all ready to go, and it wasn't until we got to Vietnam that we actually made up our own programs.
When you were in D.C., how many, was it kind of like a school class? You all came at the same time and
Yes.
Then you shipped out? How many people were there? Was it a lot?
Probably a dozen.
Oh, so pretty small.
Yeah, I think so. There's a friend of mine who has written her memoirs of Vietnam. I meant to bring that book with me and show it to you, but it's Rosemary Thunder Schroebel has written her memoirs, and she has a little bit better memory of exactly how many people.
When you were over training in D.C., did that get you more excited to go over?
Yes. Yeah, it did.
Okay, they had to have had some rules. Did they say, okay, you got to be careful of all these guys? They haven't seen women. And
yeah, in terms of actually being in Vietnam, yeah, they advised us in terms of dating to make sure that if we started to get serious about anybody, that we checked them out with the Red Cross, that would make sure they weren't married, those kinds of things.
And did they have? Was there much warning about what was going on in Vietnam as far as the dangers being on base, or was just kind of not much of that?
No, in fact, I didn't know what to expect when we got ready to land in Vietnam. I assumed that we would have to run for a bunker or a foxhole or something like that, which was not the case at all. We were flown into Saigon. We went from Washington D.C. We flew to San Francisco, and then we went out of San Francisco.
Were you on a plane loaded with other military guys?
Yes.
And how many women were on the plane? Was it just that dozen?
Probably, yeah, or fewer, because some of the people in our class were also going to Korea, so they would have gone on a different flight.
Okay, so
less than a dozen, probably.
So you flew to California, and then you got on. Then where did you go from there?
We landed in Hawaii and the Philippines, refueled both, and then into Saigon.
What was the vibe on the plane? Were you guys popular on there? I would think you were.
I don't remember that much. We were in uniforms. We were in our Class A uniforms, which were more formal than what our daily uniforms were. And everyone was very nice and complimentary. We were probably more worried about the men than they were about us, as far as what they were facing and going to different locations in different outfits.
At this point, had they told you, are you going to be assigned a base, or they're just going to move you around all over the place? Or did they even tell you that?
I don't remember how much of that we were told, but we expected to be moved around.
Okay. Landed in Saigon, getting off the plane. Tell me about that.
It was hot, muggy, steamy, crowded. We were taken to a hotel, if you can call it that. It was kind of like a slum. And then our headquarters were at MacB, the Red Cross headquarters there. And we spent a couple of days there. In fact, later on, I was chosen from my unit in Da Nang to go and help orient a new class that had come in for, it was like 2 days worth. And then we were sent out to our units. When I got to my unit in Da Nang, the first night I was there, it was both a center, an in-country R&R center, where we had ping pong tables, all kinds of things, music, people could come in and write letters, as well as mobile. Most of our units were strictly mobile, where we took these programs out to units in the field as far forward as we could go. But we were assigned to the 3rd Marine Amphibious Force, 3MAF, in Da Nang. And we lived in a villa in town, and there were 12 of us in the unit. It was the largest unit in country. And
was that like a apartment building? Or?
No, it was an old French villa. It was an old French home, and a lot of bedrooms. And like I say, there were 12 of us. But the first night I was there, we were out on the roof, and we looked up on Freedom Hill, which is where our center was, and there were rockets, red glare. It was blowing up. Our center was blowing up, and that wasn't enemy fire. It was. We were right next to, our unit was right next to an ammo dump on Freedom Hill. And whoever was the guard that night had been smoking, and there was a careless, needless fire, and so our center was blown up, and another girl and myself were sent TDY, temporary duty, to other units the next day. Because they were going to have to rebuild our center. The CBs were going to have to rebuild our center. So I went to Anke.
Helicopter or by car or Jeep or something?
No, helicopter.
What was that like?
Oh, I loved it. I can't remember if I went by helicopter, because it was might have been a fixed wing like a C-130. Okay. And I was in Anke probably for a month while they rebuilt the center, and then they brought us back, and we helped repaint the inside of the center once it was rebuilt.
What was Anke like?
Anke was smaller, and of course I had no real appreciation for the difference in sizes, except for the number of girls in the unit. I think there were 4 or 6, probably. I can't remember how many girls were in the unit.
Were you nervous out there, or did you think about it, or what?
Yeah, I probably was. And they had a smaller center, but like I say, most of our work was done out in the field. We were taken either around the base in jeeps or deuce and a half trucks, but if we went to forward areas, we were flown by helicopter, and I loved helicopters. Jumped off on and off of helicopters all day long. I would still do it if I was able.
Okay, give me your first time out when you went out in the field. What was that like? Do you remember that? And how long would you be out there?
Oh, well, we would be out there all day. Excuse me. All day, visiting different units on a particular firebase, or we would go from one firebase to another, depending on who was assigned out there. I think the 82nd Airborne was stationed at Anke, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And so we would go to their different units. And
what would happen?
Well, you'd spend an hour with a unit playing games and visiting with them. And the games were a way to get them involved, to get their minds off the war. It was part of the morale program. Like I say, it was commissioned by the Department of Defense, the Red Cross was, to provide this service.
What games did you like? Did you think were particularly effective? Do you remember some of those?
Well, one of the programs that I made up, and I can't remember what the theme was, but it included a frog race, and that was later on when I was back in Da Nang. There were frogs out at night, and so I had the girls help me collect a bunch of frogs, and we would have frog races. In fact, I can remember going into a hospital and having a frog sitting on my shoulder. And, of course, I got a lot of looks like, what is this woman doing, this young woman? And we would, anyway, that was just we'd have 4 or 5 different activities with different game boards. And like I say, very similar to...
like a game show.
Yeah, game shows today. So, and you'd have all different kinds of themes: science, fiction, science, history, mathematics. Anyway, the girls were everybody's education was different. Their majors were different, and that gave variety to the programs.
Yeah.
And variety to the men to be able to participate. So
how many, like on a day, if you were hopping around to some of these little positions, was it just helicopter in, be there a few hours, helicopter to the next place?
Yes, pretty much. We'd probably visit up to 5 or 6 units in a day.
When you went out to visit those guys, what struck you about them and the war? Did some certain things stand out in your mind?
How young most of them were. And here these men were out there in the field and fighting for the freedom of the Vietnamese people and to keep our country safe. And I just really was impressed. And they were most courteous. They were always respectful, and there was no inappropriate, as far as I was concerned, no inappropriate advances or or language or anything. They really were respectful, but they were amazed to see us. Round eyes, they called us American round eyes. We were to remind them of the girl next door, their mother, their sister, their best friend, whatever, to let them know that there were people who cared about them.
I'm sure, because I find it fascinating that you would just leave the safety of the America and then fly over there into a situation that, and I'm sure they were startled by that in some sense. Like, what would drive you to come over there? And that's pretty.
That's true. They were amazed.
Did you have anything that stood out that was like kind of startled you or made you really pause about some of the men you met? Or were you ever in dangerous situations over there?
I was in dangerous situations. In fact, I spent the night on Firebase Rendezvous in the A Shau Valley. We landed late in the afternoon to program, and as soon as we landed, they started taking fire, and they put us. I say us. We traveled in twos. We might have been in a unit of 12 or 4 or whatever, but we traveled in pairs to present these programs. And Betsy Tanner and I were assigned to go to rendezvous that day. And we started taking fire as soon as we landed. And they put us down in a cave, which was their command bunker. And we stayed there all night. And I didn't learn until about a year ago that it was an entire North Vietnamese battalion who had us pinned down, and they had we had air support from the Air Force and as well as helicopters. They kept I can't remember what the name of the aircraft was, but anyway, to protect the whole firebase and to do away with the enemy. And it rained all night, and it was muddy, and the next morning they were able to get us out and slipping and sliding down a hill.
What was going through your mind down there? Could you hear it all, the ruckus?
Yeah, you could. I didn't sleep much.
Did you sense, was there fear on the guys who were down there with you? I mean, was there confidence? Was there fear? Could you get a feel of that?
They kept us kind of separate, back away from all the hubbub.
Yeah.
But my sense was that we were safe because these men really cared, and the people on the outside who were trying to defend the position really cared and were doing what they could do to keep us safe.
How often would you get mail?
Pretty often.
They would somehow track you down wherever you were, huh?
At least once a week, yeah. We had an APO addresses, just like the guys did. APO San Francisco, and that changed depending on our location, what the APO number was, but or in-country, if in-country mail.
How often would you visit hospitals?
Officially, not that often, but I was at Camp Eagle with the 101st Airborne Division, my second official assignment, third actual because of An-Khe TDY, and then Da Nang, and then 101st Airborne Division. But from there, we went out to the hospital ships as well, the Sanctuary and the Repose. And that was an interesting experience.
Describe those and tell me about that.
Well, they were big, and we couldn't really program the same way, but we walked around and visited the men there, and we tried to do some of the activities. to keep their mind off the war. Excuse me.
Oh, you're good. You want to
got some
have
water.
a drink of water. You're good.
Anyway, it was interesting landing on a ship in a helicopter. My only fearful experience there was, and I really didn't tell this in the documentary, but when most of the pilots that took us to places were very, very cautious and very, very good, but that was one experience that was most frightening. On the way back from either the sanctuary or the repose, I can't remember. The pilot low-leveled all the way back to Camp Eagle, and I was frightened then because we were in the gunner seats on the sides of the helicopter, and the helicopters were always wide open, no doors, and certainly no door on the gunner seats. They faced out. But I was more frightened there probably than I was at Rendezvous, because he was low leveling, and I was worried about snipers, and we could have been a ready target in our blue dresses. Although one of the girls, in fact, I think it's Rosemary who wrote the memoirs. She said she had a feeling that we were invincible in our blue dresses. that was a protection, like an armor, for some reason, which, anyway, that was her feeling.
What's the most memorable place you were served at?
Well, the most memorable was Camp Eagle, because as you know, and that's later on, I met somebody really special there.
Tell me that story.
Well, how much do you want to know this point?
Yeah, give me give it to me. And how long have you been out when this happened?
Well, this was in July when I was assigned to Camp Eagle, and I had gone to Vietnam in April. So
okay.
4 months, 3.5 months.
Okay. And before we get to that, was it what you thought when you were over there? I mean, you wanted to go. Was Vietnam what you thought? Was this experience what you thought it was? Was it better than you thought it was?
Well, there's some very unexpected things, like I met my husband, my future husband there, and that's probably what you want me to tell a little bit about.
Well, yeah, I would like to hear that, but I mean, before that, was it fulfilling to go?
Oh, yes, very much so, and I'm sorry.
You're good.
I didn't even realize how much of an impact we had made until 1993. When a bunch of us went to Washington D.C. for the dedication of the wall, and I think that was the year that the wall was dedicated. But anyway, and we were asked to be in a parade with the veterans, and we we marched in the parade with them, and while we were marching, there were a few men who came out from the sides that were not able to march, and they recognized some of the girls that had served in their area, and they came out and gave them a big hug. And that was a thank you to all of us. That was really special, and I'm sorry.
You're good.
I'm a twerp. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, I think that's when we realized, I realized that we really had made a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just them recognizing some people over there, and especially in some of those places were rough, and to have you guys show up there, that's a big deal.
Yeah, because not only was Rendezvous a place where we received fire when I went to a place called Dong Ha, and when I was stationed with the 3 Math, there their remote headquarters was in Quang Tri, and we spent overnight there and visited several units. And then we were to go to Dang Ha the next day, and we got there, and they waved us off. They wouldn't let us land at all. Yeah. So there were a lot of instances, and anyway, getting back to Camp Eagle, if you want me to.
Yeah, keep going there. Yeah.
I arrived in Camp Eagle at lunchtime for my new assignment, went into the mess hall, and the girls had just been moved from Phu to Camp Eagle, and from a four-person unit to a six-person unit, and myself and one other girl were making up the other two. And we were sitting there and eating lunch, and this helicopter pilot, came over and sat down with us and introduced himself, Ben Thornal. And anyway, we were visiting, and the girls left, and we were still visiting, and we were talking about things that you could and could not get this far forward, and because things were picked over, like deodorant. I said, I have been hunting for Arid Extra Dry deodorant, and I can't find it, and I couldn't even find it in Saigon. I had just been in Saigon. And he said, well, I just happened to be down in Cam Ranh Bay on business for the Army, and I picked up 2 cans. I would be happy to give you one. And I said, wow, that's very nice. Anyway, so we walked across the dirt road from the mess hall, and he went into his hooch, and he came out. And I'm looking around, and there's nobody around. I was really glad, because he stood up on this berm outside of his hooch, and he held up this can of Arid Extra Dry deodorant, and he said, Diane Zetterval, on behalf of General Zace and myself and the entire 101st Airborne Division, I would like to present you with this can of Arid Extra Dry deodorant. And I thought, oh my goodness. Well, that was pretty memorable, and that started a relationship that you'll hear about at another time, I guess.
How many girls ended up dating guys over there? Was that common or not that common?
I think it was pretty common for dating, but I don't know that many met their husbands. I know that one other friend from Camp Eagle, she was Jewish, he was Catholic, he was a JAG officer, and they married and lived happily ever after. And anyway, they met there, but and there's a few others that I know of, but I think there was probably a lot of dating.
And did all the girls get along? Did you guys get along pretty good, or was that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, really. Some of our best friends have come out of that. Best friendships have come out of that. Lifelong friends.
I would guess anyone that's going over there is similar to you, right? You have a real passion for serving other people if you're going to go over there. I mean, that's a big sacrifice to go over to Vietnam at that point.
Yeah, I guess so.
You said, I think you told me, you and Ben, that there was an occasion where the base got bombed at Eagle. Can you tell me about that?
Rocket attacks. Yeah. We had gone over to my office, which was right next to the mess hall, and I needed to work on some stuff before the movie that night. And we were in there, and we started taking rocket attacks. And there was a bunker right outside my office there, our office, the girls' office. And we went into the bunker, and there were 3 or 4 young soldiers in there that had been playing basketball, and there was a mother dog with a litter of puppies in there. And 99 men were killed within 100 yards of us. I think that's right. Anyway, yeah, it was scary.
That's sobering.
Yeah.
Okay. After you met Ben, are you writing each other at that point?
Well, I was stationed there at Camp Eagle for several months, And then I was promoted and transferred south to Nha Trang, which was the headquarters for the 5th Special Forces. And yes, we not only wrote to each other, but we talked every night. And then I was transferred to Phan Rang after that, Phan Rang Air Force Base or Air Base. But to talk to somebody, you had to go through operators, and they would connect you. And we knew that they were listening because occasionally we'd get cut off or something, and they'd say, just a minute, we'll get you back. And they were very helpful. And anyway, we wrote and we talked every night, and it was really neat.
At what point did you realize you were probably going to marry Ben? How long after you met him?
Not long. It was before I left Camp Eagle, actually, which I left in October, I believe. And we were standing outside, waiting to go to the movie outside of my office, and it was dark, and I could barely see him. And I love pimento stuffed green olives, and he knew this by this time. And we're standing out there getting ready to go to the movie, and he said, just a minute. And he said, if you marry me, I'll give you a jar of olives, or words to that effect, or would you marry me? And I said, okay, something like that. And at night he would wear this one-piece jumpsuit, not the authorized flight suits that he'd wear during the day, Nomex, but he'd relax a little bit. So he unzips a pocket and he hands me a jar of olives. I said, thank you. And he unzips another pocket and he hands me another jar of olives. Pretty soon I'm standing there with 4 jars of olives. And I thought, oh no, I am in trouble. So that was when he asked me the first time.
And let people know, what did Ben do over there in Vietnam?
Well, he was a reconnaissance platoon leader with the 2nd and 17th Cav, which was he was the bait. He would go out and find the enemy
in a Loach helicopter.
Yes, a small light helicopter. Yeah, and by the time we met, he had just moved up to the division headquarters as the flight. Anyway, he would make sure that everybody was on good, safe ground, but he was in heavy combat for the first 5 months he was in country.
So he wasn't flying as much then, is that right?
Well, he was flying, but his mission was different. A little different.
Less bait at that point.
Less bait, but still, one of the things that I will tell you is really neat, really impressed me. He was a smoker when we met, and I grew up around family that smoked, and I never was interested in it, and that didn't bother me and everything. But when I was in Phan Rang, my last station, and that's when we became officially engaged at Christmas time, I had somehow procured a pipe. I thought, oh, that'd be nice if he'd smoke a pipe. I'll give him that for Christmas. And so he came down to see me. That's a whole other story too, how he got down there, and that was harrowing. But anyway, and I presented him with this pipe, and he said, thank you. He said, I have quit smoking. I said, you've quit smoking? And he, well, that's wonderful, well, he did. He had such determination to quit. He used to get a double acute bronchitis every winter, and he got sick of being sick, and he just he quit and smoking in the middle of a combat zone when people were trying to kill him, and he never said a word to anybody. He has such grit, such determination. I just love him so much.
Would he tell you about stuff that was happening to him, or was that kind of he didn't want to worry you with anything?
No. We talked about the weather, the monsoons, that they got hit really hard with monsoons up north, and I was further south.
How often would you did you go out of camp often to see the locals, or was that not? Or did you not do much of that?
Well, we went. I went to orphanages occasionally, and we went on dates, if you can call them dates. We went. Actually, I went water skiing in South Vietnam.
Get out of here!
No.
Behind a Navy boat? What do they call them? A PBR boat?
Yeah, I can't remember. And also,
what was that like? That is crazy.
Yes, it is crazy. I had learned to water ski my senior year in high school on Lake Washington, but I'd only been once or twice, and I had an opportunity to go in Vietnam, and that was neat. And we went to the ancient city of Hue, which was fascinating. And those things are memorable. And the most contact I had with locals was actually Mama Sans in Vietnam, who worked for us doing our laundry. Actually, we had a stream that ran through the basement of our villa, and they would wash our uniforms in the stream that ran through the lawn. Anyway, but we didn't. We were advised not to, even when we were off duty and not in uniform, not to wear pants. I didn't take pants with me because the Vietnamese women did not wear pants, and so we wore dresses, summertime dresses if we went off base.
Interesting.
And did that.
Okay, so tell me about some of the experiences at the end of your service there. What was other memorable things that happened when you were out there?
Oh, golly. Well, we became engaged on Christmas night, Christmas Day, Christmas night. Ben came to see me at Van Rang, and I hadn't seen him in a couple of months. And I thought, wow, this is great. And that was a harrowing experience getting down there. And I'd arranged for him to stay with an Air Force officer there in his billets. And that was memorable. We managed to get away to Hong Kong, and because when we're entitled to a leave and an R&R, we managed to get away to Hong Kong and to Bangkok in the
So Donut Dollies had an R&R as well.
Yes, we did.
Wow.
And actually, memorable, when we went to Hong Kong, Ben wanted to get married. He said, "Let's get married." He said, I don't want to die and not be married to you." And I said, "No." But by this time, this was in February, later on, right before I came home. He said, "I don't want to die and not be married to you." But I said, our parents are planning a wedding. We're not getting married here because chances are if we did, I'd end up pregnant or something, because we'd obviously be able to sleep together then, and we would. But I'm not doing that. We're going to go home and get married when we get home. And anyway, that was memorable.
What were some other experiences out there with the soldiers at that point? Were you still hitting up a lot of forward operating bases and.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. For sure. One of has nothing to do with the guys, but really memorable for me was with the 5th Special Forces forward headquarters out was in a place called Bambi Tuet, and it was a lodge that Teddy Roosevelt had purchased because he was quite a hunter. And he owned that lodge, or had owned it, and it became a forward headquarters for 5th Special Forces. And my companion and I, were spending overnight at that lodge to program to several units near there at the night that Martha Ray came to visit them. And so I spent the evening with Martha Ray, and that was exciting. And I don't know if you know who Martha. You're probably too young to.
I'm familiar with the name. I don't know.
She was a comedian, a very large mouth. She's known for that. Anyway, she also. The 5th Special Forces, the Special Forces were her favorite, and they arranged for her to be made an honorary lieutenant colonel in the 5th Special Forces. And we saw her years later in Austin, Texas, at a dinner theater. Ben and I did when we were stationed at Fort Hood. And I went backstage afterwards, and she remembered. In fact, she asked me about certain people, certain of the military men that she remembered there, and that I knew how they were doing. And anyway, that was kind of fun. That was a memorable experience. But the one of the things that just came to my mind when you say how about working with the troops in Da Nang, I loved to play ping pong, and I was really good then. I was fast. I'm short. I'm under 5 feet tall, and I was really good. I can't do it anymore, but I would beat a lot of the guys, which was not probably the best thing for their morale, but that was fun. And so a lot of them would challenge me. That was fun, and that had nothing to do with being in the field. But anyway, that was memorable.
Yeah. Any other stories that pop out to you just out in the field, or any memories that really strike you as?
Yes, but there's some that I'll save for
Okay.
I know we're going to visit again sometime with Ben and I.
Okay, so when it came to the end, what happens? How did you end up? How's it end for Donut Dolly over there? They just say, okay, this is the date you're going home.
Actually, I came home early, because Ben's father was dying of pancreatic cancer. In fact, he had made an emergency trip home in October, because they thought he wasn't going to make it then. So, and our wedding was planned for the 25th of April. So I came home a month early, so that I could also get to know his folks a little bit, as it was, and because his dad was going to be the best man in our wedding if he could make it. And he did. It was a blessing. We were assigned to Fort Rucker, Alabama, and so that was close to Tallahassee, Florida, which is where Ben's parents were. And we went off as often as we could to Tallahassee, and I got to know his father and his mother, and his father called me Little D. Anyway, that was important for our future family, which we didn't know we'd have at that time. But for him to get to know me, and because they had given up hope that Ben would ever get married.
Yeah, Ben said himself he was going to be a confirmed bachelor until he met you.
That's true. And so that's so I wrote a letter of resignation and gave my reasons why, and wanted to leave early, and they were the Red Cross headquarters in Saigon was very, very helpful and very understanding, and they understood.
What do you think about that now? I mean, granted, you met Ben, but just aside from that, what's your take on that whole thing going over there to Vietnam?
I'm glad I went. I'm glad I met my husband. I'm glad we both survived. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served in some small way. And
it's remarkable when you see the stats, because there was less than 1,000 Donut Dollies.
627.
Yeah, that's really small.
Uh-huh.
And it's phenomenal that you guys went, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It was really, I think all of us went for the right reasons. Like I say, our reasons weren't to protest, or our reasons were to support the troops there, and to bring some touch of home in a combat zone.
Were you ever homesick at all? No, you just felt like you were being what you were doing was drive to keep that going.
Yeah. No, I don't think I was ever homesick. Ben stayed in the Army, and we've had an opportunity to live all over the world. And it used to bother me. We'd be in a beautiful place. We'd be in Munich, Germany. We'd be in Hawaii. We'd be someplace. And there was always some young wife who would say, "Oh, I want to go home to have my baby with my mother," or "I want to this or that." And I thought, and I've always enjoyed wherever we've been and taken advantage of the opportunities to travel, to see, to meet different people and cultures, and to enjoy where we've been. So I'm just not one who laments over not being home with mama.
Right. So now you and Ben have been married how many years?
It'll be 56 years in April.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And how many kids do you have?
We have 7 children.
How many grandkids?
26.
Wow. You know what? Thanks for being willing to go over there and serve.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
That's extraordinary, I think. I mean, a lot of guys were being drafted.
Yeah.
And for you guys to just say, "Hey, or I'm just going to go do it," and that's remarkable to me.
Well, there's a lot of women who did, and I guess you've talked about the documentary that our daughter did. Your daughter,
what's the documentary called?
Our daughter, it's called The Donut Dollies, 627 women who also served in Vietnam. And our daughter, Libby, she wanted to honor the Donut Dollies. She wanted to honor me, but she wanted to honor the Donut Dollies because she'd met some of them and knew how much we had meant to the men and so forth. And so she put this documentary together, and her company gave her a limited budget to work with, and she's just received all kinds of accolades for it. And anyway, it's available on YouTube, and
it's a great documentary.
Donut Dollies, 627 women who also served. And it's soon to be released on NPR, I think.
Or PBS.
PBS. Yeah. In fact, today it's being released through Northern Virginia's PBS. And then after that, supposedly it'll be available.
I had interviewed, a bunch of vets. And then one day, one guy just popped up Donut Dolly, and I didn't want to sound stupid in front, but I tried to have him explain it, and I'd never heard anybody talk about that. And I realized too, there's so few of you guys, Donut Dollies over there, that there's a lot of guys never saw.
That's true.
You know, just because they were in really hot spots that you couldn't bring them in. But still, I thought in my brain, I was like, wow, what would make someone go over there just to do that? And that's why I was so fascinated to meet you and think, gosh, that's a really cool thing that you did.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you.
That's really extraordinary. So yeah, and that I recommend that documentary to anybody who's it's very well done, and it really captures the time and the energy you guys put out back over there.
Yeah, she did. She interviewed a lot of veterans as well as Donut Dollies.
And do you guys get together? Is there like a Donut Dolly association or something?
There's an ARCOA, American Red Cross Overseas Association, and that's anyone who has served overseas with the Red Cross in any capacity, not just Donut Dollies. But pretty much now, that's our connection. But we also get together in.
Well, and you went over there and served and met Ben.
Yeah,
who's a great guy.
Yes, he is. He's the best.
Well, thank you so much, Diane. Appreciate it.
Thank you.